Alright, 10 speed is out. That's what it looks like underneath it. Both the drive lines. This drive line needs to be cut and shortened because I will show you guys after the clutch still needs to come up. Look like the clutch is a piece of shit. Well, it still does the job, but it's not the heavy one, the one I like. So if you look at the 10 speed, which is this one, is it's 1800 foot-pounds of torque. So it's FRO 1821C. It's a heavy 10 speed. And then we're gonna put this guy in there. So basically you got this back box on it, and it's a little bit longer, a lot heavier. And this one is a 1800 foot-pounds of torque. I don't know if I can get to the sticker. It's right here. It's kind of hard to see. But 18.9, 18B. And wherever my camera is gonna get their act together. This cooler is gonna stay because since they got this back bolts up here, this cooler's a lot better than the older ones. This is liquid cool, so you got coolant and oil coming back, and need to pull the clutch out and flywheel and bring it to inland to get resurfaced. Basically, so far so good. I think it's a little above 9, so it took me about 50 minutes, maybe an hour to take this thing out. So look at this damn grease up here. Crazy. This input kind of sucks too, but the new transmission, well, it's not new, it's 75,000 miles on it. Actually has, I put a new input shaft on it yesterday. So never put this clutch brake, they are pieces of shit. Always put a 2-piece clutch brake. The one was snaps in. Alright, I'm gonna continue working. Okay, so got my, let me wipe my camera off. Got my flywheel resurfaced. It's done. I need to take it out. It's raining out, but water ain't gonna hurt none. We're gonna clean it anyways. This transmission came with a SPL 250 driveline, which is a lot, it's smaller in diameter, you joint, but a lot fatter. And this one, well, the truck has 1810. So this is SPL 250. Luckily it came out really good. Nobody put never NICs on it. And this is 17. Well, see, it's loose. So if anybody ever does this, I want to give a huge advice. On the splines inside, on the shaft, put lots of NICs, a lot. Number one, if you do need to take it out, they like to rust up there. And always use new nut for this thing. And some guy's gonna say, okay, well, this thing comes with a Loctite. You know how many times I've seen these things get loose? They don't come off, but they do get loose because the Loctite, what's on it, it's not enough. So I Loctite shit out of everything. I use, majority of the time I use the red one. So what we do is put Loctite on it, quite a bit of it, and you put your nut in. You see it's already snug right together, and then I put more Loctite in here. So some people are going to say, okay, this is too much Loctite. What are you going to do if you need to take it off? I guess what? You always can heat that nut up, and a Loctite actually give in, and it will come out a lot easier. The beauty about the Loctite, if you put a lot of it, it gets, this is basically a glue. If you have plenty Loctite in there, these threads will never get rusty. So it's kind of like prevents from rusting too. And You're supposed to use 1 inch, they said, but I always use 3/4. Never had a problem. But you gotta hammer the shit out of it for quite a while. All right, I gotta go do that. All right, we got the clutch in on a transmission. If somebody ever done this thing before, I don't know if they did it this way, but they wonder why I got the clutch on the transmission instead of flywheel. I explained. So this is the transmission is gonna go into the truck. What do you basically do? You put the transmission against the bell housing on a truck. You bolt your transmission in, and then there's a service hole right here. So you basically bar the flywheel over and find so the holes match up. So you start 2 bolts and then just keep going, keep turning, and put your bolts through the bell housing. What is the advantage of that? You don't have to first of all put the clutch in. It's heavy to hold it up there on the flywheel, and then you don't have to fight to put the input shaft on the splines, especially this one. As you guys can see, this is input shaft, then you have a spacer between it, then you have a disc. This is 2,250 foot-pounds of torque clutch. It is obviously dual disc. You have to stack them up one on top of another one, and it's 1, 2, 3, 6 pad. This is reman clutch actually. There's only one thing is reman is this part. Everything else is new. Reason I like specifically this clutch because there's 1, 2, 3, 6 springs. One spring for each pad, and there's one more inside spring, so they double spring. So let's compare it to this one. This is 6 pad 2. That is 2,000 foot-pounds of torque clutch, and it's actually original Eaton clutch. Why I don't like these things? Well, first of all, single spring. There's no insert on it, so the diameter is smaller, so you have a lot bigger potential to rip this off. Does not happen too often. I've seen it happen once or twice, and these clutches are very jumpy. I just don't like it how jumpy they are. Compared to that one, you can let go from a clutch pedal, like let go fast, and the thing will not jump. This is my 3rd clutch I'm putting in my own personal vehicles, my own personal trucks, and I absolutely love it. So some people might gonna disagree with that, but that's my favorite thing. I did switch to yoke. I don't think it can go any farther. I thought it would, but that's basically it. So it's ready to go. Flywheel in it. Climb underneath here. Flywheel is in it. Red Loctite to all the bolts. Reason it took us so long, it's 6 o'clock at night. I spent about 4 hours on the motor mounts, and it's one and then one more there, and there's one and one more there, so it's 4 of them. I'm just doing it backwards. They were not that bad, but I'm already here, so might as well I will do them. What happened is the bolt got seized up inside of the bushing, so I'll show you. So that's what basically happened. There's rust got into it, and I was holding a bolt tight inside, and I couldn't get this bolt out. But you can't put any heat up here. Well, up here you could use a torch and heat them up, but not right here because there's fuel lines. There's one more fuel line. There's some wires, so you better off not. That was the worst case scenario, but I managed to get them out. What I basically did, it's a long process, but put your impact on the top on a bolt and you just go back and forth, back and forth. I mean, I think on this two was the worst ones. This one came out easy. That one was fighting me just for about 5 minutes, but this one I spent, I would say 2 hours to beat on it back and forth. Finally got it loose. So she's ready to go in. Clean the surface out, brake cleaner and buffer wheel, cleaned it out, and should be should be the end of it. Well, not end of it, but ready to put the clutch in. Sorry, phone is dirty. And it's kind of messy job in general. And I forgot to put my gloves on. So I'm underneath the truck, and that's what it looks like underneath the Peterbilt. You can sit on it. Reason you can sit on it because I got those jacks on right there, one on each side. That's basically how I do it. The previous job I worked in, they actually had jacks where you could lift the whole truck up, and you literally walk underneath it. That makes a hell of a lot of difference. But I mean, this is not bad. I'm not doing it on a daily basis. Oh, speaking of that, I have a couple bad U-joints too, and I will show you exactly why they're bad. So if you feel it, it goes smooth, but then it has a catch to it. And see, it's smooth. You push it, and then it has a catch to it. Reason they do that, because U-joint basically moves about this much, and they get flat spots in the rollers inside. So I gotta replace. I don't know exactly how good as that one is, but the one on the coming out of transmission was bad. It did same thing, but I give that drive shaft to the shop. They have to make it shorter because, like I said before, 10-speed did not have this back box, so you got to shorten by quite a bit. I think it's 3.5, 3.25, 3 inches and 3.25, something like that. But gotta slide this bitch underneath here and put it in, and we'll be halfway done. Kind of filthy, but that's a part of a job. Wash my hands a little bit. Pants absolutely destroyed. Anyways, C15 Caterpillar, right? That's what I'm changing the clutch on. Right in the bell housing right here, there's a hole for the boring tool, and the lid on the hole looks like this, and a boring tool looks like this basically. It's like a socket, and you bar this over and turns the motor over very, very slow. So reason I'm doing this, I show you like I said before, here's the service hole, there's the bolts, this line out of the way, and see those X mark. So basically what I do, I start them, like just start them a little bit, and then I go around one time, get them all started. Obviously don't forget to use Loctite, and then I mark it where I started it, just draw the line, go around one time, then right where I started it, I tighten the bolt up, and I do X, the next one X it, put an X on it, and X and X. So I got 2 more bolts left over. It's a kind of slow process, but I tell you one thing, it's a lot easier to do it this way than actually fighting to get into the splines and put a transmission in gear, stuff like that. So this transmission has 75,000 miles on it, but I ended up putting a bell housing on because transmission came out of it had a different bell housing. The bell housing was on it. It's actually for the hydraulic clutch, so it was a big hole up here in the fork coming out. This was this way, but it has an oil leak up here. I need to change this gasket, and then I gotta find my flashlight. And I was thinking this is rear main one on a tranny leaking, but it's not. It's actually leaking from up here. As you can see, it's wet, so I got a new gasket for there. And it was kind of traveling right along the here and throwing oil on the back, because right on the top there it's dry. So we're coming along fairly well. Is this still the same day? And I started right around 9 o'clock, and that's how far I made it. But what knocked me out of a time is the motor mounts. They wouldn't come out. So, and you can't say screw it, because when you don't have a transmission, the motor mounts are right there and it's so much more easier. There's the motor mounts right there. It's so much easier to change them when the transmission's out. So I got 2 more bolts to go. Reason I'm changing the transmission because I had 10 speed, right? And a 10 speed, it was heavy 10 speed, 1800 foot-pounds of torque. So I wasn't worried about it, like you're gonna break the 10 speed. But reason I got a 10 speed, reason I get rid of the 10 speed and bought an 18, because between 8 and 9, 9 and 10, it's too big of a split. So you're looking about a 400 of RPM. And I have a triaxle step deck, which I do sometime as high as 72,000 pounds I put on the deck. So I'm close to like 110,000 pounds. And a lower side, like from first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, I'm fine. But when you get in from 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, ends up being too big of a split. It's almost like 400 RPM. So you end up logging the engine very, very hard. And especially if you're going little up incline, I had a problem. So 18 speed will help me right at this point in time split every gear. So way 18 speed works, some people know, but I still explain. The gear number 10 and the gear number 18 is basically the same ratio. It doesn't mean you can go faster or anything like that. Basically 10 speed gear ratio is 0.74, and 18 speed, which is final gear, 18 gear, is 0.73. So it's literally maybe 100 of RPM difference, not even, maybe like a 50 RPM. You wouldn't even notice it on your RPM gauge. You might just very, very slightly. But through all 10 gears, you have 10 more, and they all in between it. So between the first and second, you got a 1 more gear. So it ends up being a first, second, third. It's basically like a 10 speed times 2. That's what basically is. Because in reality, it's not 18 speed. It's 20 gears in it. Never owned an 18 speed before. I did this once. I converted a truck. Same, it was a Blue Peterbilt, 2001. Had a 10 speed. I converted to 13. I like the 13 speed, but I got a heck of a deal on this 18 speed. It came out of, like I said, wrecked truck, 75,000 miles on it. So I got a really good deal on it. I consider it good, very good deal. So I didn't have to do clutch, but mine is well already there. So I will do the clutch I like, because this clutch, I don't like it. It grabs too hard instantly. Like you let go the clutch pedal and just grabs it. It don't engage smooth. So doing the clutch, drive line, I put a new input on shaft on a transmission, and what else I'm doing? Did not do rear main seal, because rear main seal looks really good and looked like somebody did a clutch not too long ago, because the bolts around the transmission wasn't even rusty. But I'm glad I got into it, because it had none of the bolts had a Loctite on it. And it's no, you have to have a Loctite on those bolts, because it's bolted to the engine and it has a vibration, so they have tendency to come out over time. And if you have a loose bolts, let's say half of them from whatever, there's 9 or 8, if you have 4 loose, you literally can break the bell housing off, because it's made out of aluminum. So if it sits together, you have to have the thing sitting tight. All right, I'm gonna go back, continue on with barring the engine over, and got 2 more bolts to go. Then we have to run the airlines, hook up my shift knob, and I think basically I'm getting fairly close, but I don't know if I'm gonna have my drive line done tomorrow. And I gotta hook up the coolant lines, yeah. And I do sticking with the air liquid cooler for the transmission, because this is the newer one. It's not like old-fashioned one. Back in the day, they had a problem when they came out with the coolers. The coolers end up burst open inside, and you get transmission oil in the coolant system, and the coolant gets in the transmission system. So this ones don't seem like they have that big of a problem. So I'm gonna try it out, and see how it works. All right, I'm gonna go back, dig on it. Bye-bye. I'm done for today. Transmission's in, clutch in, everything's bolted. Shifting tower's back on. Not the shifting stick, because I transferred the shifting tower when it was transmission was, you know, side by side. Need to put my shifter up tomorrow, fill the oil, and hook up the coolant lines for the cooler. So we're gonna continue on tomorrow morning. Everybody have a good night. I'm still in the shop, so might as well, still the same day. I gotta come back tomorrow and finish it. I figure I'm eating actually chips. I decided to finish up this video with explain what it costs to convert from 10 to 18 speed. I'm doing the labor myself. I did get a new clutch for the truck, and from Inland Truck Parts. I will describe this clutch some more. So that's basically what the name of the company is, and I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, and I did used to work for them, but I think I got instructions right here. This is the gaps. I kind of stepped on it. There's no actual picture, but this clutch, what did I got? So this is the one I have. This one, yet VHD 15. So this is the heaviest one you can get. This comes with instruction. I never read that thing, but so I paid $5,000 for the transmission, and $700 for the clutch. I know you can buy a brand new clutch, but this is reman. I'm considering it's brand new clutch, whatever. We shouldn't even go there where it's reman, because these things, they are junk. It's made by Eaton. A lot of guys are like, oh yeah, it's brand new clutch. Knock yourself out, buy one. Tell you one thing, buy one of those things. If you don't like it, they will give you your money back. You'll be impressed with that thing. So $5,000 for transmission, $700 for the clutch. What I did with the transmission, since it came out of a wrecked truck with a 75,000 miles, I brought it to Inland Truck Parts in Lincoln, Nebraska. We took the shift top off of it, looked inside, looked at the gears, and then we put on a dyno. Ended up buying a bell housing for $400, so I'm already a little about right around $6,000. I bought a new fork, new cross shafts, grease lines, something else, new clutch brake, miscellaneous stuff. So I think by the time I'm said and done, it'll be right around $7,500 for this thing. And it is a really good deal, believe it or not. So I have a 10-speed. I do not have 18-speed core. If I had 18-speed core, even if it's bad, belongs to the case is fine, transmission would have cost me $5,000. But if I don't have a core, the 18-speed, remanufacturing 18-speed would cost me roughly around like 90, let's call it $9,000, just the transmission. Then I still have to buy the clutch and everything else. So by the time I get everything done, I'll probably be right around $12,000. But found this guy, and so he sold it to me, and it's actually ended up being a really good deal, and though it's still a lot of money. But for what I do, this 10-speed just doesn't work. I have to have more gears. because Caterpillar has tremendous amount, a lot of power. I have no problem with the power or anything, but I have a feeling since I'm logging the engine so much, and they don't like the high RPM. Anyways, I end up losing a lot on the fuel mileage. So hopefully 18 speed will helps quite a bit. But in 18 speed, you have a lot more gears turning, a lot more mechanical drag and stuff like that. But in the end, the engine won't have to work as hard either, because you have gears in between. So I believe so. It should do much better on a fuel mileage, engine wear and tear with the 18 speed, because you're not working the engine as hard and everything else. So should be fine. This 10 speed, it's actually, it came out of 2015 579. So it's new updated transmission. What I mean by that, there's actually so if it's front of the transmission, let's say, there's line right in the input, picks the oil from the bottom, goes around and comes to one, and there's a long rod right along the transmission going, and a spray oil on the gears. Instead of just picking it up from the bottom, it's actually grabs it from the bottom with the pump and sprays it on the top, all along the top gear. So this transmission, actually, they call it Healy system on it or something like that. And there's different bell housing on it. It's made for those lines to go through there. So I'm pretty pumped about it. Can't wait to get it done and actually test drive it. I drove at 18 speed, but not very much. Never owned one with 18 speed. I owned one with a, like I said before, with a 13 speed, heavy 13 speed, 1800 foot-pounds of torque. But the bearings were upgraded too, so it's probably 2000 foot-pounds of torque. That's when I did a heavy haul. And this guy looked like, when we took the shift top off of it, looked like they ran low on oil just a little bit, because it has more wear on it than it should be at 75,000 miles. But it has like some marks on the gears, but I think if I run it for a while, it kind of will polish itself out. That's what the guys told me in England. And those guys pretty straightforward. They are expensive, but they know their shit, let's put it that way. So we're gonna come back tomorrow and start doing this shit over again. Well, not start over, but we'll finish it. But I got majority of the hard stuff is done today. So those goddamn motor mounts pisses me off. All right, I'm going home. All right, people, I'm working on the truck over here, putting a transmission on it. Want to make a quick video. It will take about a minute or so. This video made regarding clutch brake. I already put the one I bought it. So this is one piece clutch brake. I think is a spring loaded or something like that too, because charter. Do not buy this clutch brake. They are suck ass. I explain why. If you buy this thing and you put it in and you harden your clutch brake, let's say you're driving a lot in the city, and this thing goes bad. It will go bad eventually. You need to remove it. It's a pain in the ass to cut this thing out of there. Because what you end up doing, actually will grab my, so when you put this thing on, when transmission's out of it, it's fine and dandy. You put it on, it's new, okay, I don't have to worry about it. But when it wears out, you literally gotta climb underneath there, I'll show you guys in a minute, and cut this thing out and put two-piece clutch brake. So, well, you know what this thing belongs? And these things do come with input shaft kits. Do this with it. Grab it from a box when it's brand new and put it over there, because they are suck ass, like literally. 2 times in my lifetime There's sometime you can spend 20 minutes and they will come out. I had one on an international truck. It took me 6 hours to get that damn thing out. I mean, I didn't know what to do with it. So, I'll show you guys right now what I prefer for using a clutch brake. I gotta climb underneath the truck. So this is surface place, service hole, and this is the clutch brake right here. This is the clutch brake right there. So way that thing works, I need to bar the engine over, but it's actually two-piece and snaps in there. So when you're done with it, if you need to replace it, you just poke a screwdriver up there and it will snap out. Like it will just come in two pieces. It's literally, it takes you 5 minutes to replace that clutch brake. This one, 5 minutes, that's it. And you snap the new one in and you're done. And it actually comes with the two little rods. I should have did this when I had it out. I usually throw them away, but I think I took the garbage out. There's how it works. It's basically clutch brake comes open, and then it has a teeth, comes in and snaps in. So it ends up being from like opens it up and just grabs around and locks in. You're done. So if you're doing a transmission or you're doing a clutch and somebody put in a one-piece clutch brake, they're not that expensive. Go buy a two-piece, put the damn thing in, and call it good. And if you're so concerned about what they come apart, I never had one come apart on me. The only one way they can come apart, but anything come apart, that's when you're rolling down the road and you slam your clutch all the way down to the floor, so you're trying to stop the truck with a clutch brake. It's only one way. What I mean by that, if you come up to the stop sign, like coming up to the stop sign, and you're kicking out of gear and you want to put in the first gear till the truck rolls, never put your clutch brake all the way down to the ground. Like just push it halfway, clutch pedal. Push it halfway and trying to find that gear. And then right when you stop, then you can push all the way down to the floor. Because what happens is you end up stopping the whole truck with the clutch brake. It's only one way they can, that's how they get wore out. A lot of guys don't know that, believe it or not. But please don't use that one-piece clutch brake, because you guys end up going to the shops, replacing the clutch brakes, and then bitching about why is it costing $600 when it's reality shouldn't cost them more than $100, including the parts and labor. If you have a two-piece clutch brake, that's what they call it. All right, that's all I have to say.